Hello, readers. This is Mrs. Porter, coming to you courtside with another one of my... Our first few books today are biographies and autobiographies. So the first one is a biography of a man named Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I know a lot of you are interested in World War II stories, and I'm pretty sure this is one you haven't heard of yet. Dietrich was born in Germany and raised by his family. They were very devout Christians. When he grew up, he became a Lutheran pastor. He also was very, very troubled by what was going on in Germany at the time. He did not agree with Hitler and the Nazis and became very outspoken as to what he felt was wrong with what they were doing. His family, especially his parents, were extremely concerned that the Nazis would pick him up and do him in if he continued on that path. So they encouraged him to go to the United States to study. Dietrich did come to the United States, but after he studied there for a while, he really felt a call to go back to Germany. He wrote to his family, and basically what he said was, if everybody who doesn't believe in this goes away, there's nobody to stand up for what is right. So he came back to Germany and became part of a group of Germans, including some very high-ranking Nazis, who came up with a plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. The story details exactly how they did that. There were several attempts made on Hitler's life and what changed because of it. Really, really good story. Lots of twists and turns, made more interesting because it's absolutely true. The second book is actually a graphic novel version of the exact same story. For those of you who don't want to read an all-text book, this book is really awesome. It has not only words, but lots and lots of pictures. Hitler was fascinated with portraying himself as a wolf because he felt it was a very strong animal. So we see a lot of imagery appearing in the book about that. Some of it's done more in a cartoon-type style. Both tell the same story, but in very different ways, and I would highly recommend, if you like World War II, if you like reading stories that are thrilling but true, either The Plot to Kill Hitler or The Faithful Spy would be excellent choices. The next book, on a lighter note, is by Raina Telgemeier, who some of you have read Smile, Sisters, Ghosts, several of her books. This one is an autobiographical story about Raina when she was in middle school. Raina's family lived in a tiny apartment. She shared a bedroom with her siblings, which she didn't like. Her grandmother came to live with them for a while. Then she ended up sharing a room with her parents. They put up like a curtain between, but I mean, when you're 13, you do not want to share a room with your parents. Raina has really bad anxiety, and it translates itself into her body having stomach issues and sort of embarrassing issues for her when she's in middle school. And her parents take her to the doctor, and they also take her for counseling. Raina tries to hide this from her friends because she feels like it'll make her weird. But when her best friend moves away, and one of the girls who torments her actually goes in the hospital for surgery, Raina finds it within herself to try and share what's going on because it makes her anxiety worse trying to hide what is going on. Again, the whole thing's told in graphic novel format, and you'll find it in the graphic novel section of our library. Another autobiographical graphic novel is by Jarrett Krosoczka. He wrote this, Hey Kiddo, about growing up. He did not have a father in his life, and his mother struggled with drug addiction, and it led to a lot of problems. He ended up living with his grandparents. I met him this summer when he spoke at the ALA convention, and I told him, I said, I probably have a lot of kids who I don't even know have issues like this in their families, and this is a great way to approach it. He tells his story in graphic novel format, and the color palette sort of reflects how he's feeling at the time. He talks about school, he talks about family, he talks about his friends, and basically for him, as an artist, drawing was sort of his means of escaping some of the problems that he struggled with. Great story, great ending. Some of you might be familiar with his books about the Lunch Lady Superheroes or the Platypus. Next book. Here we get into fiction. This is historical fiction, and the main character's name is Nisha. She lives in India. Her mom died when she was very, very young, and she lives with her father and her grandmother, and they actually have a family servant. At this point in time, India was being split into two countries, India and Pakistan, and one of them was Hindu and the other one was Muslim. And if you lived in the Pakistan area and you were Muslim, you were moving to India. If you were living in India and were Hindu, you would move into Pakistan. The trip was dangerous and treacherous. There were a lot of changes, and the story is told not only as a story, but through diary entries that Nisha writes to her mom, who is dead, but she just addresses everything to her mother because she just so wishes her mom was a bigger part of her life. As you can see, the book has a seal on it, so I'm not the only one who thinks it's kind of awesome. The next book, also a graphic novel, also autobiographical, is called New Kid. This book just won the Newbery Award. It is amazing. If you are at our school, you might want to check with Mrs. Conaway. This is one of her favorite books. It's written by Jerry Craft. And in the story, the main character is accepted into a private school because the neighborhood schools in his area aren't so great. The thing is, he's one of the only African American kids at the school, and other kids tend to stereotype him. He's not sure exactly how to fight back against that. He finds it annoying. Also, because he's going to this private school out of his neighborhood, the kids in his neighborhood stereotype him too. And he's sort of struggling with straddling those two worlds. What's funny is he realizes that he has stereotypes of some of the kids who go to his school. And the boy who becomes his best friend is fighting against those too. Again, told in graphic novel format. Excellent story. Lots of really cool images in this book. We have 3 copies in our library. Come check it out from the graphic novel section. The next book is called Internment. And this is a book that is set in a dystopian future, meaning a future where things have gone a little bit wrong. This is set in a very near future where the president has declared that all Muslims are a danger to us because of some incidents that have gone on with terrorists. And so he decides that on the West Coast, everybody who is Muslim who's already on a list will be moved into an internment camp, much like the Japanese were during World War II. The main character, Layla, is 17, and she's very angry about what's happening. She said, I go to school, I don't do anything wrong, my parents have jobs, they work, they were born in this country too. I don't understand why we're suddenly considered criminals. Layla decides to fight back from inside the internment camp, and she has a boyfriend on the outside who, against his family's wishes, is also helping her fight back. Inside the camp, they have a director who is cruel and mean, and if he discovers you're doing anything that goes against the rules of the camp, you can be beaten, you can be imprisoned, or worse. It's really a scary place to live, and Layla's parents don't approve of what she's doing, but she and a group of other teenagers decide that the only way they're going to set things right is by fighting back. I actually read this book pretty much cover to cover because there were twists and turns, and I really wanted to know what was going to happen next to the characters. Some of you ask, what are you reading, Mrs. Porter? Well, I just want to tell you I finished up the Harry Potter series. I was rereading that. And my next read is by Jason Reynolds, who wrote A Long Way Down, and it's called Look Both Ways. It's actually a group of 10 short stories set in a neighborhood. I'm really excited to start it. So to review what we talked about today, I'm going to go through the names of the authors and the titles of the books, which will also be listed underneath this video. Internment by Samira Ahmed. New Kid by Jerry Craft. The Night Diary by Veera Hiranandani. Hey Kiddo by Jarrett Krosoczka. Guts by Raina Telgemeier, The Faithful Spy by John Hendrix, and The Plot to Kill Hitler by Patricia McCormick. Come check them out. And as always,